Amorim lowers the pressure at Old Trafford. Esteval prods home a late winner, and Mikel Arteta equals the record with Jurgen Klopp. Hi, I'm Wayne, and welcome to Goals by the Numbers. Let's just get straight into it. So, our first match, Arsenal 2, West Ham 0. In a match where Mikel Arteta was able to equal the record with Jurgen Klopp, that being the amount of wins, 177, in their first 300 top flight games. Arsenal are now in a position where they have seized control at the top of the league. They're playing great football, maintaining a good amount of possession, and have only managed to drop points this season against Liverpool and Manchester City, which is no great shame, especially when against Liverpool it was a loss away, and Manchester City at home, and Manchester City who had to play a back five no less. Declan Rice, playing his former club, where he grew up and came through the youth system, scored one of the Arsenal goals. The second was from Bukayo Saka. But watching this match, it explains why West Ham are struggling. They've had to change their manager, but with that in mind, Arsenal just dominated them. And to be fair, once the first goal went in, it looked as if it was a case of how many they're going to score, as opposed to are West Ham going to fight back and win. So many chances. As they put one over the bar from about 8 yards out after good play from Arsenal. Timber broke through again in the first half, had a good shot at the keeper. We had to save with his knees, which was a bit odd. But at this point, Arsenal are now 1 point clear at the top of the table. Their defence could or should be described as miserly because they've only conceded 3 goals, one of which was against Liverpool and the other against Manchester City. Mikel Arteta has, or Arsenal rather, have made some shrewd signings in acquiring Gyökeres as an out-and-out goal scorer, and then also getting Zubimendi as a playmaker from deep. Last season, Arsenal started with Havertz up front, and he was great in helping them maintain position and progress to play forward. But with him coming out of the team, and then Partey leaving the club, Arsenal have changed around their method of retaining and spreading possession. And this is where Zubimendi comes in and Gyökeres comes in. Again, Zubimendi made great passes, played well. Gyökeres ran the channels, was a constant threat. Would have been great for him to get a goal, for him, not for me, because I'm a Manchester United fan. But again, at this point, Arsenal have actually been really good in most of the matches that they played. Even the defeat against Liverpool, they looked pretty good. In fact, the only game they haven't really looked great was against Manchester United. But with the first game of the season and the last game of the season, you can't really take too much credence from that because, nerves, first game of the season, are the players up to speed? Yes, no, maybe. But Arsenal now in control. This is the season. Last season, a lot of the talk, and my opinion as a non-Arsenal fan was they need an out-and-out goal scorer to get them over the line and to get him a trophy. Now, let's be clear. Arteta's been there since, was it 1920? We came in and they won the FA Cup. And then, so money's been spent. Players have been acquired. Arsenal have been through the COVID period where they finished 8th twice and then they started to climb up the league. If Arsenal are going to win the title, especially at a stage where Manchester City seem to be going through a transitional phase and Liverpool don't seem to have clicked yet, now might be the best time to put their foot down and to try and make progress. Will they be able to? Only time will tell. That takes us on to their competitors for the title. Liverpool, who went to Stamford Bridge to play against Chelsea. In a match that can be described in several ways being great, awesome, and excellent, Esteval scored a late winner to enable Chelsea to take all 3 points. What a great signing he is going to be going forward. In this match as well, Caicedo scored the first goal for Chelsea with a bit of a run just inside the Liverpool half. He beat a midfielder, ran towards the back line, gestured or feinted to take a shot as the Liverpool back four backed off, and around the edge of the D, took a swing from 25 yards-ish. Great finish. It kind of reminds me of the Michael Essien goal that he scored for Chelsea against Arsenal many, many moons ago Not as dramatic, but from a similar kind of distance. Caicedo, another great signing. To think that Brighton got him for 5 million. 5 million that Ralph Ragnick said many moons ago should be spent by Manchester United. Moving to Chelsea has been a really good move for him. And I think a bit like Declan Rice, one of the a player's done well when no one mentions the price tag. When they're terrible, we all know the price tag, but how much did Caicedo cost? I can't remember. Was it 105, 115 million? Again, Declan Rice, similar sort of price. No one discusses the price tag, and this kind of illustrates the point. A really good match, made better by the fact that Liverpool didn't turn up and want to play for the draw. Liverpool came for the win, which is one good trait of Liverpool and the club. They don't seem to ever want to contend with a draw. It always has to be a win. Victory at all costs. It's been an interesting week for both managers. Maresca had a matchup against Jose in the Champions League in the middle of the week. And if we are honest, most recent Chelsea managers have had to operate in his shadow, which I think is brilliantly illustrated by this picture. Chelsea have won 2, drawn 2, and lost 2 this season. You could argue they haven't really got up to speed, but the team is quite young. And then they also had an extended season due to the Club World Cup, which they won. So they are the Club World Cup champions. Slot, on the other hand, won the league last season. I would argue that he won the league last season with a Jurgen Klopp team. And having spent a lot of money in the summer acquiring some, quite frankly, really good players. Isaac, Ekatike, Wirtz, just to name a few. The expectation, I think, was that Liverpool would click and move on and go from there and just absolutely dominate teams. But we've seen from this season, the need to score late goals, being pushed really hard by opposing teams. And that's not their fault, Why wouldn't Newcastle push you hard and late, requiring a late goal by a team, no less? As champions, no, the Liverpool do not deserve the right for teams to turn up and just roll over and let them win. And we are seeing this play out. But, on paper, great team. This is also the third defeat in a row now for Liverpool. And with Manchester United next and the way they play, that should be a run that comes to an end quite soon. But watching it be described or mentioned as a mini crisis by former Liverpool players on Sky Sports was confusing. Even as a Manchester United fan, I wouldn't describe it as a crisis. Liverpool, after a few games, 6, 7 games this season, sits second, 1 point behind Arsenal, who they also have to play later in the season. Granted away, but a win is 3 points. So you wouldn't really think that that would be insurmountable. Surely. But back to the game. The first 20 minutes of this match could only be described as breathtaking. Liverpool were really going for it. Chelsea were going for it. It was a brilliant matchup. I actually wish there were more matches like this in the Premier League. But we seem to have got to a stage where it's become more about possession, hence the increase in statistics, and more about trying to outbox the other team manager as opposed to just, we are just going to steamroll you and run over you and win this game. Gakpo scored the equaliser for Liverpool. As a cross came in from the right, Salah ran, and as we discussed before the season, to allow Salah to be more effective or efficient and reserve his energy, the right back for Liverpool would run and overlap to allow to provide the width, allowing Salah to kind of get towards the edge of the box and have a shot if he needs to. Salah runs down the right, lays it off to Szoboszlai, who is still the Liverpool right back currently. He crosses the ball in. Isaac controls it in the box, but doesn't get full control, which allows Gakpo to slip in and prod the ball home into the goal. Equaliser. Liverpool would have been pleased at this point because, getting a point away at Chelsea, that's a good result, especially as they are likely to finish in the top 4 and Club World Cup champions. Then comes the end of the game. Cross comes in from the left. I can't remember who it was. Estevao gets the ball, prods it, it goes under the keeper. Cue the wild celebrations and the winner. And Estevao is a new Chelsea hero. Estevao's only recently come from Brazil and was signed 18 months ago. But again, Chelsea will be really pleased with that signing. And how good can he be? Now, on to Manchester United. Manchester United played Sunderland at Old Trafford and won 2-0 in a match which has had quite a lot of dialogue or discussion leading up to it, and a lot of consideration towards the future of Ruben Amorim. Now, this is the same Ruben Amorim who, now statistically, because we like to include statistics when we talk about our topics, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer lost 14 out of 76 Premier League matches. Last week, Amorim had lost 17 out of 33 Premier League matches. The board had come out and said, we support him, want to give him 10 in the season. Absolutely fine, no issue. But could this also feed into the idea, the theory that standards are becoming lower and lower and lower? And in fact, in a few managers' time, Sam Allardyce might be dragged out of retirement and have to become the manager. Personally, I really like Sam Allardyce. He seems like a really nice guy, really cool guy. But I digress. Up until he got to manage the England team, he tended to manage teams on the smaller side. Again, if that's your forte, no issue. Because I can remember times watching Bolton play and they were an absolute handful. And that's because he was highly organised and relied set pieces, and they were just very effective. So again, are we now getting into the territory where Manchester United have to start considering managers of that ilk? By managers of that ilk, I would also say that Gareth Southgate would be the next level down from that. Whatever. Manchester United actually played well against Sunderland, a Sunderland team that's been in reasonably good form and was fifth in the table before the match started. Goals from Sesko, so two in two matches, and a goal from Mason Mount, the first goal in the match. Mount actually started this match in favour of Cunha, who was dropped to the bench. Cross came in from Ahmed. Mount on the edge of the box able to control it and have enough time to beat the Sunderland goalkeeper from edge of the box. I'm not quite sure why he was given so much time and space, but the Sunderland team, being reasonably organised, will probably would have gone in at half time really disappointed to concede such a goal. The Sesko goal, also in the first half, came from another cross which was flicked on, allowing him to sweep home from 6 yards. Sesko had a really interesting game. As every week goes by, he seems to be becoming a bit more and more adjusted to either the team, the Premier League, or both. One good thing I like about his play is the ball will come in, he'll control it and then just knock it wide or knock it off, let it off to someone else and then turn and run towards goal. I'm not going to say he's Harry Kane because Harry Kane is Harry Kane and Sesko is Sesko. But I've always been appreciative of the fact that Harry Kane, a bit like an old-fashioned striker, can receive the ball, hold it, and bring others into play, which I think will lead to better possession in matches, and then him being able to shoot at the goal from a short distance because other players are getting involved in moving the ball forward, which means he doesn't have to do so much. But ultimately, where does this take us next? I would stress, or I would say, Manchester United played good. It was nice. It wasn't great. I think Sunderland weren't at the races more than they were prevented from playing by Manchester United. I would say that Luke Shaw is becoming, to say concerning wouldn't be fair. I don't know why he's playing at this point. It might just be because he's left-footed, but I don't know why he's playing. Genuinely, don't know why he's playing. Maybe it's recovery pace, but that could be covered by Yoro or even Heaven if you started him. I'm not sure it's aerial ability because you have Delit and then there's Maguire. Not that he can't head or he hasn't got the pace, but there are alternatives. I'm not sure it would be decision making because even Mazraoui could play in the back three. So I'm really not sure why he's continuing to play. I really think for him, or to be honest, he's been poor for a while now. And I think for him, what's really been bad is that leg break years ago when he first joined, I think has robbed him of a really, really good career. That's it. Now he's not ideal. It's not his fault. Nobody wishes to break their leg, but I think the leg break's really been impactful on how he's been able to perform going forward. And then the continuous injuries and struggling to stay fit. or not being able to play for Manchester United but being fit to play for England tournaments. Never went down well. But back to the match. Amorim will be relieved that Manchester United won, simply because it also means that there's going to be less talk about systems this week. Systems are systems, formations are formations, but if players don't run or pay attention, there was a point in the match where a ball was played and Delo and Luke Shaw just watched the ball go past them before even reacting. No formation is going to make a change to that. However, let's play devil's advocate. Let's say Manchester United go to Anfield next week. Liverpool win 10-0. Salah scores 5 goals. Isaac scores 3. XTK scores 2. The fans are baying for blood. They want ahead. Ruben Amorim is sacked. Okay, so now what? A new manager comes in. A lot of the talk about Amorim's system is the fact that the team seem more ideal to play a back four and say a 4-3-3. Outside of the fact that Ten Hag played a back four and a similar system, and the fact that Manchester United haven't been able to win back-to-back games since the end of the 23-24 season, when Ten Hag was in charge, that was against Newcastle and Brighton, by the way, that problem predated him. So this is something that Amorim's having to try and fix on the other end. If Manchester United got rid of Amorim and then brought in a manager who played a back four, plenty of players who could play in that back four, no issue. Are there enough players who can actually be the three in midfield? Because realistically, you have Menu, who hasn't even played 90 minutes worth of football at this point, I think. You've got Casemiro, Ugarte, and Bruno Fernandes. Then you've got maybe arguing Mason Mount, who could probably squeeze into that 3 as well. So 5 players. But then you don't have any natural wingers. You've got Mbeumo, who's recent player who's coming from Brentford. You've got you've got Ahmad, who also can play as a wide player. And then you'd have to ask Cunha to come in from, I assume, the left, not really being a winger. Of course, most players are players, and players can always have a good go at playing a certain position, but if it's not your forte, it's not going to be ideal. So even if Manchester United did get rid of Amorim, are they going to have to look for another manager who plays a back 3? Just to ensure that the profile of the squad can be used by the new manager. And looking at managers who currently ply their trade in the Premier League, that only really hints to very few. That being Glasner and the guy at Brighton, whose name I forget. But Glasner having more experience would likely be the main option. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm a Man United fan, but would you leave Crystal Palace at this point and go to Manchester United with how things have been over the last few years? I don't know. I mean, Palace won more than Manchester United did last season. Look where that's gone. So, in this match, 2-0 to Manchester United. Sunderland, I think, will be really interesting to watch as the season goes on. They seem like a really structured team. I think Granit Xhaka was a really shrewd signing to bring experience and a bit of steel into midfield. So now all we have to do is see how the season plays out. And if I was Sunderland, I would forego the cup and just focus on survival. Looking at the league, you've got like Wolves, Aston Villa in the bottom, Forest are struggling, West Ham are struggling. I think if there ever was a season that a team that's been promoted is going to stay up, it could be this one. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.